Good morning and welcome into Sports Talk on a Budget. It is Saturday, January 11th, year of our Lord 2025. Got it right again. That's two in a row. I thought I'd say 2024, but 2025, of course. Saturday morning, doing a Saturday morning show. Going to be a little bit of mix of NFL and college football. Before I go ahead and get into the topics, just want to reiterate, if you like the video version, please like and subscribe right down here under Sports Talk on a Budget. Leave a comment with your reaction to the college football playoff, your wild card picks, things like that. But please smash that like, smash that subscribe right here under Sports Talk on a Budget if you like the video version. However, if you like the audio version, you can find it on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, basically wherever you get your podcasts. Like and subscribe to the show there under Sports Talk on a Budget. And follow me under all my social medias under Cody Dodier or Sports Talk on a Budget. Let's go ahead and look at our show for today. So, going to start off the show with my reaction to the college football playoff semifinals. Had two really good games, both on Thursday between Notre Dame and Penn State, and last night between Ohio State and Texas. Going to give you a brief reaction, not going to go into real depth. I'll get into a real depth preview next week between Ohio State and Notre Dame, who are playing for the national title. Give you a brief reaction, and then I'm going to go ahead and move into my wild card weekend picks. Some are calling it super wild card weekend. I've heard that, but it's been kind of taken off. But wild card weekend picks, we have 6 games this weekend, some really big matchups, some really good matchups as well, some division matchups, some rivalries also. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and move into the show. So as I said, my first topic of the day is going to be my reaction to the college football playoff semifinals. And let's start off with the game on Thursday night. So Thursday night, I thought that game was an absolute classic between Penn State and Notre Dame. Kind of got a little bit of a slow start, a lot of defense in the first half. Penn State looked like they were going to take control of the game in the first half, took a 10-0 lead. Probably could have been 14 or even 17-0, but they sputtered a couple of times and didn't really take the game by the throat and let Notre Dame hang around. Notre Dame gets that late field goal with their drive set up by their backup quarterback, Steve Angeli. That was really the turning point of the game for me, was that drive at the end of the half. They get those 3 points. They get the ball at the end, at the beginning of the second half, go down the field, score a touchdown. So in the quarterfinal game against Georgia, Notre Dame, the key part of the game for Notre Dame was that kind of the end of the first half, beginning of the second half. They were able to double up in that game against Georgia. They doubled up in this game against Penn State, and that really kind of turned this game on its head. Because if you watch the first half, Penn State dominated the first half, whether it was on offense or defense. They absolutely dominated the first half. But they did not take this game by the throat. They let Notre Dame hang around, and Notre Dame did exactly what they did to Georgia as well. They hung around. They got that last gasp of the first half and that first act of the second half, and they capitalized on that, and that was really the turning point in the game. Just a couple of observations as well. Both quarterbacks played not well, in my opinion. Riley Leonard made the plays he needed to make, made plays with his leg, made some good plays with his arm. Drew Aller showed that he needs to stay another year in college. He had a bad game, and he had just an atrocious pick that ended up leading to the game-winning field goal by Mitch Jeter for Notre Dame to send them to the national championship game. But he had an absolute atrocious game. I think there was like 4 or 5 targets to wide receivers, 0 receptions, 0 yards, of course, 0 touchdowns as well. So that was a big question mark as well. For me, it's been a big question mark for me all season with Penn State. Can they get any kind of production from the wide receiver position? And Thursday night showed that they could not in that game, in the most important game in their season. So that was a huge question mark for me. Tyler Warren did his thing. The backs did their thing, as they've done all season. But Drew Aller did not step up. He actually kind of took a step back in that game. And he really didn't look good for most of the playoffs. The SMU game wasn't a great game from him, but Kevin Jennings, the SMU quarterback, was just handing them the ball, and the defense for Penn State won that game. He was pretty good against Boise State, but they were just overmatched. So 2 out of 3 games in the playoff, Drew Aller did not look good. So that's why I think he definitely needs to return for his senior season in college. He is not ready for the NFL. I know this is a weak quarterback draft in the NFL. He is not ready for the NFL. But want to talk about the winners here and talk about Notre Dame. And as I talked about Notre Dame, they could have, in the first half, it looked like that they were outmatched. They were out athlete. They were out talented. They didn't have the horses to hang with the Penn State team, who probably has more talent across the board than they do. And they stuck with their game plan. They stayed the course. They got that drive at the end of the first half that I think really, like I said, changed the game. And in the second half, they came out on fire. touchdown, 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 big plays, big momentum swinging plays. And they stayed the course. They stayed true to themselves. They stayed true to what Riley Leonard does well. They stayed true to what they do well on defense. They didn't get away from their game plan, even though the game got away from them a little bit in the first half. They stayed true to themselves, and they are winning and going to their first national championship game since the 2012 national championship against Alabama. Hats off to this Notre Dame team. Hats off to Marcus Freeman. They've had an incredible season. They're on an incredible run, and they will face the Ohio State Buckeyes in the national championship. And that'll bring me to my reaction from the game last night. And going into last night's game and how it kind of started, it looked like how most games have started. As the first two games have started for Ohio State in the college football playoff. They stopped Texas on defense. Texas got one first down, and then they went 3 and out after that. Ohio State went right down the field, running the ball, passing the ball, boom, 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 touchdown, Quinshon Judkins from the 4-yard line. And it looked like, oh my God, this is just going to be another onslaught by Ohio State. They're going to run away with this game, and they're going to go to the national championship. And they kind of dominated time of possession. They had a lot more yards in the first half for most of the first half, but they couldn't capitalize. Penalties, that 15-yard penalty by Trevion Henderson in their second drive was really hard to overcome. They couldn't. They had other penalties, holding penalties, and situations that just weren't ideal for them. They couldn't overcome the penalties and just the mistakes that they would make. And give credit to Texas's defense in the first half. A lot of teams would have wilted when Ohio State came out like they did, would have wilted, given up a couple of touchdowns, maybe been down 14, 17, 21, nothing, and the game would have been over just like it was against Tennessee, just like it was against Oregon. But this Texas defense played well. They shut down Jeremiah Smith all night. He had one reception for, I think, 4 yards. They double-teamed him. They bracketed coverages. They slid coverages over to him. He couldn't do anything in that game. So that was a huge takeaway for me as well. So Texas, hats off to Pete Kwiatkowski, their defensive coordinator. He did a great job in that game. But what really kind of stuck out was the end of the half in this game, just like the other game. The end of the first half. So you get Texas scores a touchdown with 29 seconds left in the first half to tie up the game. And you're like, okay, we got a tie game at halftime. This is really going to be a ball game. The next play from scrimmage for Ohio State, they throw a screen pass to Trevion Henderson. He goes 79 yards, touchdown, 14-7. They take the lead into the half. Now, Texas came out and scored in the third quarter and made it a 14-14 game, but that sequence right there, Texas's touchdown, then Ohio State's touchdown 2 plays later, first play from scrimmage, I think really kind of changed the tide as well. Texas had a lot of the momentum. If they were able to go into the half 7-7, I think this could be a different game in the second half. They have the momentum, but that 79-yard touchdown from Trevion Henderson was really a momentum swinger, even though Texas rallied in the second half. And then that goal line stand from Texas. So it's first and goal from the 1-yard line. Or first and goal, I think, from the 2. Pass interference, another pass interference. So you get the ball at the 1-yard line, first and goal. They try to run the ball up the middle, get stymied by Ohio State. And Ohio State has been really stout on the goal line all year. People don't just run over them in the end zone anymore. So they run, they can't get him. Then they run that pitch play. I don't love the call at all. And Caleb Downs did what he does and made an unbelievable play, gets through the front line, slows down the running back, and then his guys come and clean it up. It's a 7-yard loss. They go all the way back to the 8-yard line. It's third and goal from the 8-yard line. Incomplete pass. Fourth and goal from the 8-yard line. Strip sack by Jack Sawyer. Ball bounces just perfectly right back into his hands. He takes to the house. Ball game. Ohio State's going in the national championship game. Hats off to Texas. They played a lot better than I thought they would, especially how this game started. They could have definitely been ran out of the building with how this game started, but they stayed the course. They played well. Their defense played really well. What they did on Jeremiah Smith is that a blueprint for Notre Dame. We'll get into that a little bit in the preview next week, but Ohio State, this team looks like they're a team on a mission. They get the victory. Not their greatest performance on offense. Really good performance on defense from them. And that sets up a national championship between Notre Dame and Ohio State. That's going to be a really good matchup. I will break that down in my national championship preview next week. But let's go ahead and move to the NFL. We got 6 games to pick here. We're going to start with the game in the afternoon, and that is the Chargers at the Texans. And the Chargers are a 3-point favorite. You can get 2.5 somewhere, but a 3-point favorite right now. And this afternoon Saturday wild card window might as well just be called Houston Texans window, because the Houston Texans have made the playoffs, I think, 8 times in their existence since 2002. 7 times they've played at this afternoon window to open up wild card weekend. So this might as well just be called, like I said, Houston Texans window. Chargers, like I said, are 3-point favorite in this game, even though it's on the road. Some questions that I have in this game. Can the Texans protect Stroud? Now, the Chargers get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, but it's from the edges. You got Khalil Mack and you got Tuli Tuipulotu. On the other side, they get pressure from the edges. The weakness for this offensive line for the Texans is up the middle. So if the Chargers can, maybe generate some blitzes, generate some pressure from their defensive tackles and their interior defensive line, they can really disrupt this game for the Texans. And Stroud, as we've seen throughout this year, when you rattle him and when you get to him and you get him on the ground or you get your hands on him, he can get really rattled, make mistakes, throw interceptions, rush throws, things like that. He can get really routed and kind of taken out of the game. So that's a huge key to the game here. And what does this Chargers offense look like? That's a huge question for me. Josh Palmer, one of their better wide receivers, is going to be out for this game. Now, they do have J.K. Dobbins back, and he's looked really well. He's looked really good in the last 2 weeks of the season. Ladd McConkey has really stepped up to be their number 1 wide receiver. Will Dissly's been a solid tight end. Quentin Johnston, when he holds on to the ball, can make explosive plays when he actually catches it. So that's a question mark for me. Can Stroud also return to the rookie form? This year, he's really been up and down. Now he's going to be without Tank Dell, without Stephon Diggs. He's been without them for a while. So a lot of pressure on Nico Collins to have a big game, as well as Dalton Schultz, the tight end. Joe Mixon's going to need to have a big game on the ground for them to really stay in this game and kind of control this game. And Justin Herbert, he is kind of that 5th guy. You have Mahomes, you have Allen, you have Lamar, you have Burrow, and everybody kind of slides Herbert into that 5th quarterback spot. Can he get his first playoff win? Because all those guys have playoff wins. Of course, Mahomes has 3 Super Bowls. Burrow's played in the Super Bowl. Lamar's got MVPs and playoff wins. Allen's probably going to be the MVP this year and has playoff wins as well. So can Herbert get a playoff win and get that monkey off his back? I think he does. So give me the Chargers to win and cover here. Chargers -3 is the bet there. And then we'll move to the night game. And this is actually on Prime Video. So if you don't know, there is an exclusive Amazon game this weekend, just like they did last year on Peacock. And that is going to be the Steelers at the Ravens. And the Ravens are 9.5-point favorite. You can get it 9 somewhere, even as low as 8.5. But these odds are all presented by ESPN Bet. I'm not sponsored by them, so that'll be the end of the promo there. But that's where I get my odds here from ESPN Bet. Ravens 9.5-point favorite. Can Lamar shake off that playoff funk? He had a good game last year in the opener in the divisional round against the Houston Texans. But not only does he have a playoff funk, he has a Steelers funk. I think he's like 3-5 or 2-5 against the Steelers all time in his career. Now, the last game they played against the Steelers was at home. They beat the Steelers by three scores. So, and they're favored to win by at least 2 scores in this game, of course. So, can Lamar shake off that playoff funk? Can he shake off that Steelers funk that he's had in his career as well? Can Pittsburgh generate any sort of offensive consistency? The passing game is just the moon balls from Russell Wilson, who's been really inconsistent. George Pickens came back from injury a couple weeks ago, but looks really inconsistent and just doesn't look engaged in the game for the most part as well. So that's a huge question mark. Their run game with Warren and Najee Harris has not really been consistent either. Can Pittsburgh get any sort of offensive consistency to keep this game close? And can Pittsburgh's defense bounce back? They've been gashed a lot. I know they've played some tough teams down the stretch. Baltimore, Philadelphia, even Cincinnati last week. They've played some tough teams down the stretch, but their defense looked dominant like they always do in Pittsburgh early on in the season, and it's really kind of sputtered down the stretch. So can Pittsburgh get back on track on defense? And can the Ravens stay hot on both sides? The Ravens kind of had the reverse effect of the Steelers' defense. The defense for the Ravens early on in the season was not good, was giving up points, was giving up a ton of yards, was not good. They flipped the script towards the end of the season and have looked really good to end the season. Their offense is looking really good, but they're going to be missing Zay Flowers, so that's a big question mark there. Who is going to step up? Is it going to be Bateman? Is it going to be Likely? Is it going to be Andrews? Because Zay Flowers has been their number 1 offensive threat in the receiving game, so that's a question mark as well. too many questions for Pittsburgh and for me in this game. Their offense has been inconsistent. Their defense has been inconsistent. Russell Wilson's been inconsistent. They really don't have a number one receiving threat with George Pickens the way that he's playing right now. So I like the Ravens to win and the Ravens to win big and cover. So give me the Ravens minus 9.5 in this game. And then we'll go to the Sunday morning game, and that is going to stay in the AFC, and that is going to be the Broncos at the Buffalo Bills, and the Buffalo Bills are an 8.5-point favorite in this game. Now, this is a mismatch just like the game we just talked about in the AFC. Two of the three AFC games I think are a complete mismatch favoring the higher seed and the home team. Question mark for Denver. Can you slow down Josh Allen? Josh Allen is the alpha and the omega on the offense for this Buffalo Bills team. Everything that this Buffalo Bills offense does well runs through him, even the run game. I know James Cook has had a really good year, but the threat of Josh Allen running really helps him in the run game as well. So, and the threat of Josh Allen's arm really helps those boxes to be not as stacked as they might be with other quarterbacks for James Cook as well. So can Denver's had a really good defense, has played really well. Their defense played really well for much of the year. Can they slow down this Josh Allen attack? And can they take the crowd out of the game at all? Can you get an early score? Can you get an early stop? Can you get an early turnover? Take the crowd out of the game, because if Buffalo comes out, gets the ball to start the game, goes down the field and scores and gets ahead, and now you're playing from behind on the road in Buffalo, which is a really tough place to play, it's going to be hard for them to come back. This Buffalo crowd's going to be behind. They're going to be crazy. They're going to be behind this team, just like they always are. So Denver, it's paramount for them to get off to a good start. If they get off to a bad start, it can get real ugly for them real quickly. And then what does Bo Nix look like in his first playoff start? He's been kind of up and down all year. Don't really take a lot of stock from that last game against Kansas City. He had a really good game. But was Kansas City's basically backups and third-string players. They had no business wanting to be there in Denver and wanting to play in that game, so I don't take a lot of stock from that game. But Bo Nix, can he get into some kind of rhythm? Can Sean Payton get some easy throws, get some easy plays for him, get him in rhythm early in the game to get him settled in, because this is going to be a tough place to play. I know he's played at Alabama when he was at Auburn, at Washington when he was at Oregon. He's played in some tough places. This is going to be a different animal, especially with the weather, especially with the stakes in the playoffs as well. So what does Bo Nix look like, and can Sean Payton get him some easy throws, easy plays to get him on track and get him in rhythm early on in the game? And who steps up as Josh Allen's number one option? Is it going to be Amari Cooper, their trade deadline addition? Is it going to be one of those tight ends in Kincaid or Knox? Is it going to be the rookie in Keon Coleman? Who steps up? Khalil Shakir has been good off and on this year as well. Who steps up as Josh Allen's number one option? That is a huge question mark as well. To me, in this game, too many mismatches. You got a rookie quarterback. You got a really young team in this Denver Broncos team, kind of an inexperienced team outside of their coaching staff under Sean Payton. This Buffalo Bills team, what they really do in this first round of wildcard games, they look really good in these first round wildcard games. They get a home game. They usually get an inferior opponent that they're much better than. That's the same case here, and they put them away, and they beat them pretty good, and that's exactly what I think is going to happen here. Give me the Bills to win. Give me the Bills to cover. Bills minus 8.5 is a play here. And then we'll move to the afternoon game on Sunday, and that is going to move over to the NFC. And this will be the game on Fox with Brady on the call. And this is going to be the Packers at the Eagles, and the Eagles are a 4.5-point favorite in this game. Question mark for me, which quarterback is healthier? We know that Jalen Hurts was knocked out of the game against Washington about almost a month ago. It's about 3.5 weeks ago. He was knocked out of that game. Has been in concussion protocol since then. Cleared concussion protocol either yesterday or the day before, but a couple days ago at least. Cleared concussion protocol. He is going to be out there to play. Is there a rust factor for him since he hasn't played in nearly a month? And then we saw what happened last week with Jordan Love. He gets injured in that game. There was people saying that he could come back into the game, but they really didn't want to get him injured more since they've already clinched a playoff spot, and they pretty much knew they were going to be either 6 or the 7 seed. So that was kind of the area they were in right there. So which QB is healthier? Which QB do you trust more? Because both these guys both these guys can have really big games and have really big numbers, but both can have kind of stinkers. Both can kind of go up and down throughout the season. They both have been up and down as well. The bigger question mark for me and the more bigger key for both these offenses is which run game has more success. You got two of the best running backs in the league in Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs. Which running game has more success? Which running game can keep the other offense off the field and get more success against the defenses? This Eagles defense has been really, really good this year. This Packers defense has been underrated, but has improved under first-year defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. So which run game has more success? Which defense can slow the other run game and make these quarterbacks beat you? Because what both these offenses want to do with Kellen Moore at the helm as the offense coordinator for the Eagles and Matt LaFleur calling the game for the Packers, both these guys want to run the ball first. They want to run the ball to set up the pass. It's kind of old school football that way. I know their quarterbacks are big names, they're big marquee names, but don't get yourself fooled by that. These teams want to run the ball first and then set up the pass to their weapons on the outside, and both these teams have elite weapons on the outside at the wide receiver and tight end positions. So which run game can have more success is a huge question mark here. And do the Packers force the Eagles to win the game through the air? If you could slow down Saquon Barkley, who's going to be a top 5 MVP candidate, do you force the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, who hasn't played in nearly a month, to beat you with his arm? Because that is a huge question mark. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, of course, are elite options on the outside for him. But when he is forced to be the focal point of the offense, that's when you see this offense struggle a little bit. I think the Packers will be able to slow down the run game and focus on getting Jalen Hurts to beat them with his arm. Not sure if he can do that. I think the Eagles win this game, but give me the Packers to cover. I'm going to take the Packers plus 4.5 in this game to cover. Eagles will win the game outright, I believe, though. And then we'll go to the Sunday night game on NBC, and that is going to be still in the NFC, and that is the Commanders at the Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers are currently a 3-point favorite in this game. Now, what Bucs team do we see? Do we see the Bucs team that went all the way to L.A. and just hammered a good Chargers team? Or do we see the Bucs team that kind of sputtered for 3 quarters last week against the Saints, and they needed that win to get into the playoffs? So it's not like they were already in. They needed that win. Atlanta was kind of back and forth with the Panthers all day, so they didn't know if Atlanta was going to pull that out. They needed that victory. They sputtered all day against a bad Saints team, and they finally got the victory at the end. So what Bucs team do we see? What Baker Mayfield do we see? Can Baker Mayfield protect the ball? When Baker Mayfield doesn't have interceptions, doesn't have fumbles, doesn't turn over the ball, he can be one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league. But when he turns over the ball, he can kind of turn to one of the top to one of the bottom 10 quarterbacks in the league. He's got 17 turnovers on the season this year. Now, he's had a really good season, 40-plus passing touchdowns, really good season, 4,000-plus yards, really good season for Baker Mayfield. But if you can rattle him a little bit, if this Commanders team can rattle him a little bit, get him to make some mistakes, that is going to play right into the hands of this Commanders team. Can they do that? Jayden Daniels, just like Bo Nix, this is his first playoff start. And for me, I have more faith in Jayden Daniels because I've seen him play at higher highs than Bo Nix, so I have more faith that he'll be fine. But the question mark for me is who steps up as the number 2 option for Jayden Daniels? Is it Zach Ertz, tight end? Is it Zacchaeus? Is it Noah Brown? Who steps up as that number 2 option? Because you know that the Bucs are going to key on Terry McLaurin, who has been the number 1 option all season for this Commanders team. Who steps up as the number 2 option for this Commanders team? That is a huge question mark there. And can the Buccaneers get a solid run game? They've had really good success a lot of the year. Bucky Irvin has really stepped up and been one of the better rookies on offense all season. If they can run the ball and keep the ball away from this Commanders offense, that could really help them as well. I think this is going to be a really close game. This Tampa Bay team, they play well in this spot. They've had a lot of first-round wild card home games. They won last year against the Eagles, but that was an Eagles team that had basically quit on the season, in my opinion. This is a really tough spot. Commanders have gotten better throughout the season. They're a 12-win team. I thought they was like, okay, well, they got 10, maybe 11 wins. No, they're 12-5, and they play in a pretty solid division as well. I think they have a chance to pull off the upset, so give me Washington plus 3 here. Would not be shocked if the Commanders pull off the upset, but but Buccaneers may win close as well. Give me the Washington Commanders plus 3 to cover in this game. I think this is going to be a really good game, really pretty evenly matched teams, so give me the Commanders to cover in this game. And then we'll finish off with the Monday night game, and that is the Vikings at the Rams. And this game has been moved to Glendale, Arizona because of the fires in LA. And let me just take a minute. I'm from the Southern California area. I'm from Orange County. Want to reach out to all my California people out there. I know it's not Orange County that's being hit, but LA County. I have my cousin Joel, who is a firefighter in Redondo Beach in LA County. Want to send my thoughts and prayers with all the people that have been affected by the fires in LA County and in Southern California. Hopefully we can get these under control. Hopefully, hats off and thoughts and prayers to the first responders that have showed up and done an absolute amazing job. Thoughts and prayers with the people who have been affected by just those terrible fires in Southern California. Hopefully we can get this under control quick, but it's just a terrible situation there. Hopefully we can get this done soon, but my thoughts and prayers are with you. But let's go ahead and get to the game. Like I said, this is moved to Arizona, so no longer a home game for the Rams. I think that is underrated. I think that's a big key there. Unfortunately for the Rams, there's nothing you could do about it, but a big key there. Vikings are a 1.5 point favorite in this game. Now it's not a true road game. And there's a lot of people in Arizona from the Midwest and from the kind of the north part of the Midwest, like Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin. A lot of people in Arizona are from that area, so wouldn't be shocked if it's almost 50-50 fan split in the stadium, which kind of sucks for the Rams, but just is what it is. Big question for this game is Sam Darnold. Can Sam Darnold bounce back? He had a rough game on Sunday night against the Detroit Lions when they had the division on the line. Can he bounce back and have a bounce-back game here? That is a huge question mark for me. Another huge question mark, just like with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this Rams team, which shows up? Is it the team that went toe-to-toe with the Buffalo Bills and won in an absolute shootout, or is it the team that sputtered against other teams and ended up losing games? Which Rams team shows up? Which Matthew Stafford shows up? He's had games where he's looked like the vintage Matthew Stafford, one of the best quarterback talents of all time in the league. And then he's had games where it's like, okay, well, that's the other Matthew Stafford. He's willing to show up every now and then. Which one shows up? Can Cooper Kupp be that number 2 option behind Puka Nacua, who's been absolutely just great in spots this year for them? Can Cooper Kupp step up and be somewhat close to the Cooper Kupp we used to know for this Rams offense? They can really use it. And can their defense slow down this potent offense for the Vikings? Now, what the Lions did last week against this Vikings team is just got after Sam Darnold, rattled him a little bit, and got him out of his game. Can the Rams do that with some of their front seven? You have Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, the rookies. Can they get after him? Kobe Turner, second-year player there. Can he get after him, rattle him a little bit? If they can't, we know the weapons on the outside. Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson. They have a litany of weapons on the outside for the Minnesota Vikings. If the Rams can't get home against Sam Darnold and this Vikings team, they're going to pick them apart. So that's a huge question mark there. Been back and forth in this game. I think this is going to be a really close game. Unfortunately for the Rams and for this organization, the game moving from LA to Arizona, I think, plays a bigger impact than most people are talking about. So give me the Vikings to win. Give me the Vikings to cover. Vikings minus 1.5 is the play there. So that has been my reaction to the college football playoff semifinals and my wild card weekend preview. This is a great weekend for football. We've had our appetizer both in Thursday night and Friday night with the college football playoff semifinals. Now we have our meal this weekend, 2 games today, 3 games tomorrow, 1 Monday night. Can't wait for it. It's going to be some great games and some great opportunities for teams to kind of separate themselves and get to the next round. But thank you for watching and listening. Remember to like and subscribe. Smash that like, smash that subscribe right down here under Sports Talk on a Budget. If you prefer the audio version, please like and subscribe on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or basically wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for watching and listening, and have a great weekend.